We are live. Do I have, looking at the ceiling for some reason. There we go. Excellent. Okay. All right. Can everybody hear me? I don't know if there's anybody out there yet, but I'm hearing this weird delay in the headphones. I'm going to have to, let's see here. Let me just take that right out of the equation. There. That's done. Yeah. So, if you're watching this on delay, like, after if you're not watching it live, that is, welcome, and welcome to the Snowmageddon week here in Nashville. We've been dumped on here, and currently I think I'm stuck in my house because I don't even own a snow shovel. Gave that up long ago when I used to live in Las Vegas, so all that stuff is gone, and just never got around to buying another one because never really needed it all that much. Maybe once or twice in the past 8 years since I've lived here in Nashville. But yeah, so we're gonna borrow a shovel, I think, from the neighbor and maybe dig ourselves out. So just in case for emergencies or whatever, if we have to get out of here. But in any case, I'm here in the studio, and I figured I'd come on here live, and I scheduled this yesterday. I did one of these live broadcasts yesterday, sort of a short, abbreviated version, and just to try it out and see how it goes, and had a few people tune in, so that was kind of cool. Just ironing out the kinks a little bit. Yesterday's broadcast, I put my phone, I'm broadcasting from my phone, so all the audio that you hear is just directly from the phone audio mic, and none of the mics are, maybe one day, if I keep doing this, I'll have to figure out how to use the OBS software and get all the mics going through the interface and broadcast the actual studio sound, which would be cool. But I haven't spent the time diving into that just yet, and just trying to, work this out, and just keep it simple for now. But yesterday I was an idiot and put the phone in front of I have a heater that's right over here on the wall, and it's like 13 degrees outside, so I need the heater on because it's really cold. This room is the only room that's not attached to the rest of the house AC unit, HVAC unit. So it gets really cold in here if I don't leave that on. So hopefully there's no noise. if you're hearing a rumble of any kind, or any kind of wind type noise, blowing type of sound, definitely write it in the chat section, and I will move the camera and figure out a better angle. But I do like this angle because you can see the whole kit. You can see me, you can see my face, you can see my body, my hands, my legs, everything. So that's cool. That's what I want. So the point of me coming on today was to talk about ideas on how to sound like a pro drummer. And this idea came to me last week when I had a gig downtown I had a couple gigs downtown, but for one of them, I got there kind of early. Actually, I got there early for both of them, and I always get there early because that's how you are when you're a pro. You get there early, and you're not like rushing around like an idiot. So I get there early, and it gives me a chance to not only relax and be relaxed, but it gives me a chance to check out the previous band, and check out maybe the last half hour of their set. And so I was playing at Legends last week, and I don't know any of the band members that I saw that I was watching, um, but I was watching the drummer a little bit, and it just, man, there was so much that like was bothering me about his playing. Now, he's fully capable. He knows the songs, and um, has skills on the instrument. The thing about this is like, he's playing and he's getting the job done, I guess you'd call it. Like, there's drums, he knows the songs, he starts the song off, he counts it off, he ends the song with the band, and things are kind of, mediocre at best. But the thing is these things that I'm talking about, that I'm hearing, they're not very obvious to the general public. Now, I wrote a whole bunch of ideas down yesterday to talk about, to things to kind of present to you here on the live broadcast. And I should preface all of this by saying that there are always going to be exceptions to the rules, and rules is not even the right word, but just there will always be exceptions to any sort of idea or concept or uh, way of thinking. So, with that said, take all that I'm about to say with a grain of salt, and just, think about your own situation, your own circumstances, and some of these things, some of these ideas that I'm going to talk about might pertain to you, and some of them might not. Some of them, won't be, maybe will be too specific, or just. So I just want to kind of like put like a disclaimer out there before I get started. So and by all means, if there's anything that you want me to elaborate on or discuss or change directions on, if there's some other subject you want to talk about, maybe something that I say will jar some other thought, write it in the chat, and I'll be constantly looking at the chat, so we can discuss whatever that is, and we can make turns, throughout the broadcast. So this isn't just me lecturing you on anything that, especially if it's something that you don't want to talk about. If there's something else that you'd rather discuss or move in a different direction, then absolutely, let's do that. So the first list of ideas that I want to share with you are just things to avoid doing. Now remember, the topic is ways to sound pro. Ways to sound like a pro drummer. Now here are some things to think about. Some ideas, some things that maybe you want to try to avoid doing in order to sound like a pro drummer. The first one is pretty obvious. I mean, some of these are pretty obvious, but playing little fills every 2 or 4 bars within a song. A lot of what I'm about to discuss with you is about song drumming, right? Song drumming, because that's primarily the gig that I was playing, and the gig that I saw this other guy playing. Again, I don't know who it was. I don't want to know. Whatever, doesn't matter. But they're there to play songs, and so all of this is within the playing a song context. Okay, so you know, if you're a jazz drummer, some of this stuff may not apply. But playing little fills like every 2 or 4 bars, especially like within a first or second verse, a lot of times just doesn't fly. It's almost like nervous energy. I once attended a drum clinic by Steve Jordan, and he asked the audience. He found somebody in the audience. He brought them up on stage, got them to sit down behind the kit, and he said, "Okay, play a groove, but don't play a fill." And so the guy started playing a beat, a groove, and I guarantee, like, it was within the first 4 or 8 bars, he played a fill, even after Steve Jordan had already told him, "Don't play a fill." So a lot of it is just nervous energy, and so you want to try to filter all of that stuff out. And a lot of what I'm about to talk about is just is kind of falls under that umbrella, is just, you know, having this filter and like knowing what you want to sound like and knowing what the music should sound like, from a greater vantage point. In other words, when I'm playing, even though I'm on stage playing with the band, I like to listen as if I'm like a fly on the wall, or like I'm like stuck on the ceiling. I'm like Spider-Man, and I'm like stuck on the ceiling looking down at the band, and I'm hearing everything, right? You're hearing the whole mix, from the listener's vantage point, and I want to play from that vantage point. I don't want to play from the drum chair and play all these cool stuff, all these licks that I've been working on in the practice room, just because, you know, I've been working on it, so I'm going to fit it right in here no matter what. Or, you know, maybe that's not your reason at all for playing these little fills here and there, but maybe your reason is just because you're nervous, or you don't feel comfortable just, you know, playing a groove straight through 8 bars, 16 bars, whatever it is. So I'll just play a little bit. I'm just gonna play a groove. I don't even know what I'm about to play, but I'm just gonna play something, and I'm gonna try not to play a drum fill at the end of 4 bars, at the end of 8 bars, maybe even at the end of 16 bars. Okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna count us off. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I didn't play one fill. I didn't play one open hi-hat note. I didn't play one ghost note. All I played was the beat. Boom, dat, boom, boom, dat, boom. Let's change it up. And I'll just say that a great way to practice this is, if you have the ability to practice along with music, I highly recommend that. And I'll recommend that you try this. Try playing along with some music by James Brown. Put on Cold Sweat. Put on Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. Put on, you know, any of his hits, basically. Just go to the greatest hits record and play along, because and try to like copy what the drummer is doing on those records, because there's no fills. There's none. There's no fills. There's no there's no crash cymbals. It's just the pocket. And if you can do that, it will translate into your playing when you're out on the gig or wherever else you're playing. Let's try now something like a more complex groove, instead of just playing a simple boom dat boom boom dat, let's play like something that's a little more active, but I'm still going to try to not deviate. I'm still going to this will be an attempt not to play any drum fills again. Let's try it. I gotta think of a groove. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's another example. Just work on this, and maybe even time yourself. See if you can go 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Can you go 10 minutes playing the same groove without playing a fill? This is a great exercise. Okay, next idea. Mixing up the pattern, especially the kick and snare patterns, within the song, especially like within a verse, within a chorus. You don't want to do this. Things to avoid, right? Mixing up the pattern. Find a pattern, find the groove, stick with it. Okay? Don't deviate. Don't change it up. Don't play like I'm just kind of playing random beats. It's like every bar is different. Try to avoid that, okay? Okay, so the next one is a really easy one. Just playing the hi-hat too loud, okay? Just sounds like garbage, especially if your hi-hats are like, thicker style. There's a time and a place. Like I said, there's always exceptions to this. And there are certainly songs and grooves that deserve to have like that kind of a vibe, certainly. But, if you're playing like, I don't know, like an Alan Jackson song, or if you're playing like Shania Twain, it just doesn't work. So, you need to balance the kit. What does that mean? Balance, like mix yourself. How loud is the kick? How loud is the snare drum? How loud is the hi-hat? Start there. Okay, and then we can talk about orchestrating the rest of the kit, the toms, the cymbals, incorporating the rest of the kit into the mix. But for now, let's just worry about kick, snare, and hat. And just worry about, what is the hierarchy? The volume of the kick versus the volume of the snare versus the volume of the hat. And where should those live? So, for my money, the kick should be the loudest thing. You're playing from the ground up. You want to be playing from the ground up. So the kick should be the most powerful kind of. That's where everything stems from. Next is your backbeat, for sure. It needs to be a loud and proud backbeat. Of course, if you're playing, in a tiny little restaurant, you're gonna have to tame it down. Everything is gonna have to come down. So you're not gonna be playing like power strokes. You might be playing. But you'll still notice that the same hierarchy still exists. Kick, snare, hat. Did you see how light I was playing the hat just a moment ago? It doesn't need to be. Okay? That's a quick one. Changing the sound of the backbeat. No, don't do it. Decide on whether you're playing a rim shot or whether you're playing in the center of the drum or just off the center of the drum, if you're going for like a ringy sound. Or if you're going just full on rim shots. Or just in the center of the drum. And stick with it for that particular part of the song. You can now, within the form of a song, you know, in the verse you can play in the center, and in the chorus you can play rim shots, or in the verse you can play the ringy snare, versus in the chorus you can play in the center. You can mix it up that way and make it so that each section of the song has a different sort of tonality on the snare drum, or a different character that you're bringing out of the snare drum. But try to avoid like it's kind of all over the place. I see a lot of drummers who sometimes they'll play like a drag. It's like, what are you doing there? What was that for? Why'd you do that? Weird stuff like that just doesn't make any sense. And if you were listening on a record and you heard that, you'd be like, what's going on here? Why is this, the backbeat is super inconsistent in volume and character. All right, so something to avoid that. Strive for consistency. Make it so that every backbeat sounds exactly like the one previous to it. All right, and that includes dynamically too. So, you know, figure out where the volume should be and stay right there for that particular section of the tune. Then maybe the chorus kicks in and you're playing a little bit louder, or you're playing it off the rim, or whatever it is. You're changing it up there. You're changing it up for a musical reason, not because you're bored or because you have zero control with your left hand, or it's just kind of bouncing everywhere. And yeah. All right. Cool. Hey. Just checking the comments here. Nobody's written it. Feel free to write a comment. Say hello. I'd love to hear from you. Love to know who's watching. Okay. Here's a big one that I heard the other day. For all I know, the drummer could have been playing with a click, because the quarter notes were consistent. It was all the other notes in between the quarter notes that were very inconsistent. And what I'm talking about is the subdivision. Okay, so when you subdivide, it has to be even throughout. So if your subdivision is 16th notes, let's say you're playing like a kind of a medium to slow sort of. Okay, but the subdivision is here. So if I play 16th notes of any kind, I don't know if you can hear me. If I play 16th notes of any kind within that little groove, they have to be even. They have to be like. Okay? And that's what you should be thinking while playing the 8th note groove. You should be thinking the whole time. The whole time, for the whole song. You should be thinking that. Really, I mean it. And you should be locked into that. And I guarantee if you do that, you'll never rush, because here's what you want to avoid. And this is what I heard the other day. It's hard for me to do it. It's hard for me to imitate it. But just know that the quarter notes were there. Boom, back, boom, back. That was in time. And like I said, this guy could have been playing with a click, right? People say they can play with a click all the time. It doesn't mean anything. Just because your kick and your snare on the 1 and 3 and 2 and 4 are together with the click, but everything else that you play is out of time, that means you can't play with a click. It means your time sucks, your time feel sucks, and you need to work on it. So this is what I heard the other day, and it was embarrassing. It was hard to listen to. It was just like, oh, I cringed. And yeah, it just bothered me. And like I said, I mean, this is stuff that's not obvious to the general public. General public's there, they're drinking their beers, they're having a good time, they listen to their favorite song, they're singing along, they're having a great old time. They're not concerned with the drummer about his subdivisions. But, you know, they don't know what they don't know. And the groove in the pocket could be so much better if the drummer would just get the subdivisions in time and play them evenly. And it's true for triplets as well. You know, there's a little more give and take with the triplet, because triplets can, you know, once you enter the triplet world, you can play true triplets, or you can sort of like scrunch them together a little bit. You can play, if I was going to play like a Texas shuffle, it's still triplets, but it's kind of like, not true. Bucket the bucket the bucket the bucket. It's more da 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 da. So that's a little more elastic, and there's a little more, you know. But again, it has to be on purpose, though. You have to be aware of what you're doing, and it has to be on purpose. So, and it has to be consistent as well. Okay. Crazy and weird dynamics. Okay. Here's another one that the other day, same drummer, I was listening to the same drummer. This guy, he was playing with great dynamics for the most part. He'd play the verse, playing rim click, whatever the groove was, I don't remember. Or maybe it was just, let's use that as an example. And what he did was, he'd be playing that nice dynamic, nice and soft underneath the vocal, and then he'd go to play a fill, and first of all, the fill would be explosive, and he would land on the 1 with this crash cymbal of death, I call it. Okay, it's just like, it was so loud that I winced because of the impact, and partly due to his very, very bright and loud crash cymbals, but more to do with the fact that he was just beating the piss out of him coming out of this fill. Now, the thing is, it's like, I know he's capable of playing soft because he just was playing. But all of a sudden he goes, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, you got so excited to play the fill that your adrenaline just took over, and you just played like way too loud for the room. You just obliterated the whole mix. The whole room just went, oh, like that. But now you're back down to, you know, it's like you, I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. It's harsh. It's harsh, and it hurts my ears. And you have to know that if you're playing a groove like I was just demonstrating, okay? Or just practice these fills, getting around the kit in a way that is musical, and it doesn't, it's not harsh. It's not like this like shocking moment of of loud drums, just exponentially loud. It's kind of crazy. Don't let that happen. Just, you got to smooth it out. Smooth it out in your playing. Remember to breathe. A lot of times when I go to play a fill, I'll breathe in before the fill, and as I'm playing the fill, I'll breathe out. So you have, when you breathe in, you have oxygen in your body, and then when you breathe out, you're releasing the oxygen, the carbon dioxide or whatever. You're releasing the air, you're releasing the pressure, and you're letting it relax. Okay, so try to hear the fill as you're playing it, and just relax. Let your hands just be calm, and don't get so excited. Just make sure you stay within yourself, and I'm going to get to that. Actually, that's the next thing here. Stay within yourself. Don't go crazy taking risks and big chances with drum fills that you aren't sure if you can stick the landing. You aren't sure, because if you aren't sure if you can stick the landing, you should not have played that. Okay? That tells me that you're not staying within yourself. You're getting so excited that you're just going crazy, and you're not able to come out of whatever idea that you're playing. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's watching this or not. Crap. It says one watching. That's probably me. So that's okay. That's okay. This is my first time doing this, and so I don't expect there to be dozens and dozens of people. I'm just going to keep going with the lesson. So you have to stick the landing, okay? Play what you can play, and use that. And it doesn't need to be fancy. The fancy stuff doesn't matter if you can't stick the landing. Imagine, okay, here's an analogy. Imagine an Olympic gymnast, and this girl, she's like on the parallel bars or the uneven bars or whatever, and she's doing all these tricks and flips and somersaults and all these wacky, but like at the end, she goes to stick the landing, the big finale, and she lands on her butt, lands on her head, ouch, that would be awful, right? And everyone would be like, oh, geez, the whole thing is ruined. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. If you don't land on the one, or wherever it is you're intending to land, from the drum fill, from all the tricks and flips and twists, it's all ruined. None of the other stuff matters. You have to stick the landing. So play what you can play, but make sure that you can stick the landing. And that's how you sound pro. Okay? You will not sound like a pro playing all your gospel chops when no one knows where the one is and no one knows where you landed. Oh, he landed, a 16th note early, or an 8th note late, or totally just dropped a beat. There's nothing worse than that, than a drummer who does that. So if you can't stick the landing, then delete all that stuff out of your playing, and find other ways to generate intensity. Okay? That's the best advice I could give about that. Okay, so those are all the things to avoid doing. Let me know if you can think of any others. Okay, here now are some things to focus on, and to things that I recommend that you do. Okay, first thing, playing good time with good feel. All the notes are in the right place. The ghosted notes are part of the timekeeping. In other words, it goes back to the subdivisions. When you're playing ghosted notes, they need to be part of the time. Just because you can play, let's say you're trying to play that groove, but you're playing like, sometimes what I hear, I'll hear this a lot in like sort of mediocre, like mid-level drummers. They're playing a beat. Like, hear that bass drum note before the snare drum note? That one. It's like all over the place. It needs to be, and it should be, boom, but that, boom, boom, that, boom, but that, boom, boom, that. Hear how it's the same every time. Doom, do that, doom. It's in the same place. It's not moving around, right? It's you know, if you were to grid it out, it's in the same exact place every time it happens. That's what you want. That's what you should focus on trying to do. This is what I'm talking about. Okay? When I say the ghost notes, that's part of the ghost notes. It's not really a ghost note, but it's part of the groove. It's part of the subdivision. The subdivision needs to be in time with the rest of the groove. There needs to be a thread of subdivision running through the whole pocket, through the song, probably through the whole song, unless the song changes drastically. But, you know, if your song is like... So, that's your pocket. Everything that I'm playing fits into that subdivision. Okay? Yeah, there's little decoration type notes. But it still is part of the subdivision. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't change. It can't change. All right? All right, so here's one. This can be, you know, a lot of times, you know, working downtown here in Nashville, sometimes you get asked to play songs that you actually don't know. Okay? Somebody throws money in the tip jar. They want to hear their favorite song. Half the band knows the song, half the band doesn't. You're one of the half that doesn't. What do you do? Well, first of all, try to know the song. That's the first thing. If you don't know the song, try to figure out what's coming. Maybe you can pull up what I do is I pull up a Nashville numbers chart. I have a whole Rolodex, whole file Dropbox folder full of Nashville number charts that are standard type songs that we play here in Nashville, and there's so many of them. There might be 1,000 of them. There might be more. So it's kind of impossible unless you grow up with this music like in your blood. It's really hard to know all of these songs. You know, especially when you've moved here more recently, like myself. So I try to pull up a Nashville numbers chart. At least I will have something in front of me that tells me some information about the song. I will see the form of the song. Maybe it says, maybe there's a tempo marking. Maybe there's a style marking. Maybe it says country waltz. Maybe it says shuffle. Maybe it says train beat. Maybe it says rock and roll. There's going to be information on there. You know, maybe the guitar starts the song, so I don't need to worry about coming in right at the top. Or maybe there's a weird count intro, 3, 4, 1, 2, boom, 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 ding, like some kind of weird intro like that. That's like, you know, you need to know how to count off that song. So a chart can provide all of that information, a good chart anyway, and more, really. Maybe there's some weird ending. It ends on the and of 4, or it ends like with a retard, or some sort of musical thing that, you know, you wouldn't know otherwise. Because again, you don't know this song, keep in mind. So that's the first thing. Now, if you don't know it, learn how to predict it. A lot of songs are predictable. A lot of songs are written in the same format. There's a sort of a formula to these songs. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Ooh. My nose. Excuse me. So try to predict the song, the changes in the song. Where is the chorus coming up? Does it, when it goes, when the chorus finishes, it's probably going to go to another verse. The second verse is probably going to be pretty similar to the first verse. Maybe it's going to be like half the length of the first verse. Right? So the first verse was 8 bars. Maybe the second verse will be 4 bars. Little things like that you can sort of predict. Maybe there's you get to the bridge and there's a breakdown chorus, and then a build up to the double chorus ending. Right? These are all formulaic songs. They're written this way. When you can predict it, you can telegraph to the band what's going to happen. And especially if you know the song, really especially try to telegraph. Oh, here we are. We're going to go to the chorus. It's going to get bigger. Bum, 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 bum. You're going to open up the hats a little bit and to show, hey, here we go. Get ready. We're going to the chorus. You're telegraphing to the band what's coming. All right? Maybe there's a big stop on the one. Doom, da, doom, doom, da, 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 doom, da. Doom, doom, da, doom. Right? You can, with that doom, da, da, doom, da, and a hit on the one on the snare drum, that tells the whole band that's a stop sign. Everyone, stop what you're doing. Okay? These are ways to telegraph to the band without saying anything with your mouth or communicating in any other way, just through your music, just through the notes that you're playing. This is how you sound pro. What you really want to do and think about is just conveying these ideas and feeding it to the band on a silver platter. Here you go. Make the band feel comfortable. Make them know and feel like they know what's coming. And it's predictable. And it's like they can hear the thing that's going to happen in the music before it even happens. That is the ultimate compliment I sometimes get. Some people, bass players will tell me, Brian, you're so easy to play with. What do they mean by that? They mean like it's predictable. Like they hear in my playing what's coming up next. And things just fall into place. And it makes it easy for them. It makes them feel comfortable. So they're not like on edge going, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? No, they're relaxed. They read the signals, the telegraphing that I'm sending them. They can read the telegraph and go, oh, okay, I know what's coming. I know what's going on. And that's like everything. That's how you get called back for the gig. And at the end of the gig, when everyone's high-fiving and smiles and everyone's saying, man, that was so fun, that's just the best. That is the best feeling ever. And it has nothing to do with chops or showing off or any of the sort of, plasticky, like, artificial, look at me, hashtag more me, kind of way of thinking. All right? It has everything to do with music and playing music and sharing these roles and sharing this experience. And it's a dialogue, it's a conversation, and it's a give and a take. And, it's a call and response. It's it's just the best when that happens. Okay. Cool. We got oh man, you got to feel the groove. We got Maxim back on. Hey, what's up, Maxim? Thanks for joining, man. Lay it down on the drum set. Yes, but in the proper place where it's supposed to be. Totally, man. Totally. That's it. I mean, like I said, stay within yourself. Don't get excited and start rushing or start playing super loud, or like wacky, like flurries of notes that just don't fit into the second verse. Like, what are you doing? From Russia. Oh my gosh, wow, you're in Russia. That's so cool, man. I had no idea. Wow. Where in Russia? Are you in Moscow? I was in St. Petersburg many years ago. I had a great time there. It was a lot of fun. I was docked there on a cruise ship, and it was docked overnight, and we got to go. I was a crew member, so we got to go out and party it up all night long and get into all this trouble. It was nuts. Moscow. Okay, yeah. I've never been to Moscow. I think my wife went there. She said she took a crazy flight from St. Petersburg to Moscow. It was like on this airplane that she said felt like it was going to fall apart at any moment. But she lived to tell, thank God. And she's got some cool pictures from there. But geez, this was like, I mean, this was over 20 years ago. So, you know, very, very different era. But yeah, thanks for joining, man. So cool. It's 1 hour away. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and I assume you're a drummer in Moscow. I mean, otherwise, I don't know why you'd be watching this. I'd love to come visit one day, though. That would be so cool. Yeah. So I got a few other ideas just that I wrote down here that I'll get through, and then, you know, again, don't forget, you can, you know, ask me anything, and I will do my best to answer any questions that you might have about anything, not just the topic that I'm talking about today, but just about anything, music related, career wise, or other. Another thing to focus on is just to clean up your playing. Get rid of the junk in your playing. Again, like, stay within yourself. This will, to get rid of the junk in your playing, this is going to require probably you to record yourself. You're going to have to record yourself and listen back and hear for your own ears, where am I doing things that doesn't, you know, I'm putting notes in that don't belong. It's not adding to the music. That lick that I played that I thought was cool, that sounded cool in the moment, maybe doesn't sound so cool on the playback. Maybe it doesn't add to the music the way that I thought it was in the moment when I was playing it. And there's a discrepancy here between what you feel when you're playing and when you go and you listen back and you hear it from a third person as a listener. They're two different things. And so what you want to get good at, and this is where it requires to record yourself, is try to listen to yourself in the moment while you're playing, like that person is listening at the third person, like you are listening, you know, the day after you made the recording. And part of that, you know, when you record yourself, you listen back, try to listen back as soon as possible. Maybe not the same night, but like maybe the next morning. Get up and watch the video right away. And
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
My iPad is talking to me for some reason. Try to get up and listen to the recording right away, because you're gonna remember what you were thinking when you played that lick or when you did that thing. You're still gonna be fresh in your mind, and you're gonna remember how you felt and what made you play that thing that maybe you don't like, maybe that doesn't belong. And so the next time around, when you feel that way, you might be able to filter yourself and go, oh, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do that again. It didn't feel right when I listened back to it on the playback. Okay, so this is how you clean up your playing, right? You're getting rid of the clutter in your playing, all the little junky stuff that like just doesn't belong. You want to lay down the groove like your life depends on it. Sometimes it does. If you're trying to pay bills and you're the only guy, you know, maybe you're a single guy and you got bills to pay and rent to make and all that, you know, child support payments or whatever the hell you got going on, credit card debt. Sometimes, man, your life sort of does depend on it. Gosh, I have a whole nother page here I don't know if I'm going to get through all of this. Maybe we'll do a part 2, but yeah, there's some heavy concepts here that I'll just touch on, and maybe we'll do another one of these like next week or something like that. Love watching you play. Oh man, thanks, brother. Drumming is your second nature. Yeah, man. Love to hear that. I know how you feel. I feel the same way, right? It's like breathing, right? Drumming is like breathing for me. It's part of my life, and it's part of my being, and I just, yeah. Yeah, I don't feel like myself even if I go a day without drumming a lot of times, you know. So, certainly how I identify myself. Let's. I'm going to talk a little bit about orchestration, and like, this is kind of a heavy concept, and like I said, I mean, you know, maybe I'll do a part 2 on this and talk a little bit more about this and just elaborate. You know, have more time to elaborate. But basically, the way you articulate on the drum set is very, very important. There are 4 sort of parameters, or 4 sort of qualities that you're working with on the drum set. High and low. So high frequency, low frequency, right? So high frequency would be the cymbals, maybe the snare drum, the hi-hat. Low frequency would be the kick, of course, and maybe your toms, especially like lower toms, but basically all toms. Think of them as being lower. So that's 2. The other 2 are short and long. Short notes and long notes. Which instruments on the drum set produces a short sound? Certainly the snare drum. Certainly the hi-hat. Maybe like a small crash cymbal, especially if you play a cymbal that's sort of that doesn't have a kick drum or a snare drum note. So if you just sort of like hit the cymbal by itself. Long notes are more, you're going to play a cymbal with a kick drum note. Right? That's a long note. Those are long, it's a long articulation. Or maybe like something lower on the floor toms. Like if you're playing a ballad, you get to the end of the phrase, 2, 3, boom, and you want that long boom, right? You're thinking long, you're thinking legato. You think legato means connected. You're thinking maybe like a power ballad. You're playing like a big fill, boom, 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 boom. You're thinking legato, boom, 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 right? It's all connected. Okay, short and long, high and low. These are the 4 sort of parameters that we're working with on the drum set, and how you articulate maybe a melody or some hits like within the music. Some maybe, you know, the best one of my favorite examples of this, and I'll just kind of touch on this real quick, is if you were to play the song Superstition, right? Superstition by Stevie Wonder. I'm drying out here. Man, it's so cold here. Oh, the heaters are drying out the air big time. So if you know the song Superstition by Stevie Wonder, you know that line that is contained within the song that goes, so within that's sort of like a bebop line, right? Imagine like Charlie Parker playing that or something. It's kind of has that flavor to it. But now, what if I was to play that melody on the drum set? What would it sound like? Well, let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm screwing it up. 1, 2, 3. I'm not doing a good job of it's kind of hard to pull that out of your butt without the context of being within the song. But basically, I've never done that before, like in an example like this. But basically, what I like to do, especially if I'm playing that song with a band, is at some point, like later in the song, probably like 2/3 of the way through the song, I might play that melody in unison with the rest of the band. And I always get smiles and like sort of like the nod from the bass player, like, oh yeah, I see what you're doing. Because you're playing in unison, and what I'm playing fits the articulation of that melody, right? You have short and long notes within that melody. Ba ba. The first two notes are short. Ba 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 do ba 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 ba. Right there. So you have ba ba do ba, that ba. That's a long note, and then ba da. The next two notes are short again. Short, short, ba ba da long, short, short, da 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 da. And that da da da, and you can boom boom boom, or you can follow the shape of the melody around the drum. Boom boom boom, blah boom boom. Some kind of like, so you're complementing the shape of the melody as well as playing the correct articulation, short or long. And so your brain, the listener's brain hears that and knows, oh, he's playing the melody. And you can do this, you can practice this with any sort of jazz head, especially the Charlie Parker type heads, of like, the bebop era, Moose the Mooch and, Scrabble from the Apple and all that kind of stuff. If you're into that kind of stuff, get yourself, a real book and start, just playing the melody on the kit, learning, see if you can copy what the melody is. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, orchestration. You're orchestrating your ideas and a melody around the kit, and you're choosing what to hit when to make that feeling, to recreate that melody. Okay, that's what I mean by orchestration. This is how you sound like a pro. All right. Get your hands together, man. This is such a big one. I know so many drummers who can't even play a roll around the drum kit. It's kind of sad, Ask a drummer if they can just play a double stroke roll. Like a clean roll. Right? Or just paradiddle. Together, man. Like, learn the rudiments. Start there. Learn all of the rudiments. There's 26 of them. The original standard rudiments. Okay, don't worry about the bluzda and all the Vinnie Colaiuta licks. That'll come later, after you can play a damn flam tap. Okay, flam taps. Radamakue. I don't know, flam accent, flamakue, that sort of thing. I don't know. There's others. Let's see. All your rolls, 5-stroke, 9-stroke, 6-stroke, 7-stroke, and so forth. Get your press roll together. All that stuff. Get your hands together so that you can articulate on the drum set. Look, the rudiments are the words of drumming. In order to tell a story, you need a diverse vocabulary, okay? If you only know, if you only play with singles, for instance, that's a big common thing that I see. I'll go downtown Nashville and I'll watch other drummers play at these clubs, and I'll watch them intently, and I'm waiting for them to play a double anywhere. Just a double. Play a double. Play a double. And, they're beating the piss out of the drums, and they're playing so loud, and they're playing all this, like, busy stuff, but there's no doubles. There's not one, like like I just played. You know, they would never play that. You'll never see that. Almost never downtown. You know, I mean, these guys are like 25 years old, but still, you know, so maybe they're still learning. I don't know, but like, you know, you got to have that stuff together in order to sound like $1,000,000, in order to sound like a pro. My gosh, you know, get your doubles together. Start there, and then work on your flams. Get your flams together. Your hurdas. You know what the hurdas are? Right, left, right, left. Like 2/16 and 2/8. Starting on the right or starting on the left. Or you can start it on the 8th. Turn it around, convert it. Just get your hands together. You're gonna sound so much better. You're gonna sound like a pro. You know, instead of sounding like, you know, you're not gonna be able to tell a story like a, you know, imagine like a third grader telling a story using a third grader's vocabulary. That's what you sound like. Not you, maybe not you. I don't know, but like this is what I hear a lot of the time. Drummer has to remember the melody of the song. That's right. Yeah, melody is important. So important. Melody and form. And the melody informs you of the form, oftentimes. So, you know, if you're playing a solo, you can think of the melody. You can sing the melody in your head, and you know where you are in the song. That's important, you know. Knowing your styles. What makes the style that you're playing sound authentic? That's the biggest thing. And it's true for any style, whether it's country or reggae or rock or funk or R&B or klezmer music. I don't care. What you have to ask yourself: what makes this music sound authentic? How do I go about sounding authentic within this context of music? You know, is it salsa, clave? Then you got to know about clave, cascara rhythms, and that sort of thing. Is it a train beat? Is it shuffles? All these things. My gosh.
Now playing on Apple Music.
What?
You can always ask me to switch to a different app.
Shut
Your
up.
choices will help me learn the ones you like.
Quiet. Holy crap, this thing is like listening to me. It's weird, this Siri thing. Yeah, sorry for that interruption. Jeez, that's so weird. So just sounding authentic in whatever style that you're playing. That's important, you know. That's how you sound like a pro. If you're reading a chart, somebody gives you a chart, maybe you're in a session, maybe you're in a rehearsal, maybe you're on a gig. You're reading a chart, don't get lost. That's like cardinal rule number 1. Don't get lost. And if you do get lost, really try to find your place again so that you can end the song in the right spot, in the right way. Learn how. Learn to find guideposts. Scan, if you're lost in the chart, scan the chart for something that's going to stand out. Maybe there's some triplet thing that you're going to hear, or some sort of, I don't know, dynamic thing. It could be anything, but just try to, if you're lost within the chart, try to find your place again. Try to find a signpost and regain, you know, finding where you are within the chart. But better than that, though, is don't get lost. Count like crazy. Sometimes I play gigs with the Nashville Symphony, and it was, you know, it's really hard because like a lot of times you'll be resting for like 90 bars or something, like 98 bars. You know, so literally like 3 pages of rests, and they're all blocked out: 8 bars, 10 bars, 24 bars, 12 bars, you know, blocked in different ways, and you have to count all the way through it. following the conductor, and a lot of times like it's mixed meter, a lot of times it's sort of rubato, so it's speeding up, it's slowing down, this kind of thing. Those are the hardest gigs to not get lost in, because it's not just a click track running. So don't get lost. Geez, there's so much more. I don't know. We've been here over an hour. Oh yeah, paradiddles, nothing works out. Without paradiddles, nothing works out right. That's right. Paradiddles are so powerful, man. So probably the most powerful. Between that and doubles and singles, those are the three things I think you can't do without. I mean, when you're playing the drum set at a high level, those are the the key items to really focus in on and really incorporate into your playing. Listen is all I can't even emphasize it enough. How to sound pro. Listen to what's going on around you. React. Listen some more. Pay close attention to the other band members. Never mind how you sound. Remember that things can happen, changes occur. Be ready to pivot when you might need to. If maybe the singer forgot the lyrics, so she doesn't know when to come in, or she knows when to come in, she just forgot the lyrics. Or maybe this band doesn't play the bridge correctly, or maybe they don't play the bridge at all, and you just need to be able to pivot and move on a dime and go, oh, I hear what's going on, I'm right there with you. All right? Things are unpredictable. Sometimes it just happens, especially when you're with a pickup band and you're playing with people that you don't play with all the time. All kinds of things can happen like that. Little things. Be ready to move around and pivot. All right? This goes back to, again, like what I was talking about earlier in the broadcast, where I mentioned, like, I'm Spider-Man and I'm up on the ceiling listening to the band. Let your ears dictate what to play. Okay? Not your hands. Your hands want to play all the cool stuff that you worked on in the practice room, in the shed. Excuse me. Stay in the present moment and try to hear the music from a producer's ear. Try to hear the music like the listener is hearing the music. Try to hear the music like you're at home listening with headphones, like you're the studio producer. Think of the music, think of listening from the top down again. Pretend you're Spider-Man. You're up on the ceiling and you're looking down at the band and you're hearing the whole thing. And that's the best advice I can impart. Remember that your limbs need to lock in with each other. Your kick, your right hand, your left hand especially, and in jazz, especially your left foot. Okay? It goes back to, again, the syncopation, or not syncopation, the subdivision need to be accurate, okay? If I'm playing a groove and it's like you just sound like the drums falling down the flight of steps, okay? Everything needs to be lined up. So when you go for that big fill, that whole like booda booda, right? The kick drum note has to be in the right spot. Right? I'm just making up fills here, but I'm trying to incorporate the kick into like the fill, and so that to demonstrate how the kick is in the right spot. It's within the 16th note subdivision. Right? And there's a shape to it. There's phrasing to it. There's accents, and there's unaccented notes. It's not all just loud. There's a phrasing. Right? Okay? This is a great exercise, actually. Like, sing a fill to yourself that has accents and phrasing to it, and then repeat it on the drums. And just keep doing it. And see if you can stump yourself. You know? Okay? And it's fun. It's actually fun to do. It's a challenge. All right? Look, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. I could literally do whole entire lessons on any one of these topics. Okay, I don't know how many things I just mentioned, but literally there's 2 pages worth of ideas that I just gave you. So if any of you are interested in lessons with me, whether online, whether in person, if you're in Moscow or if you're in Nashville, get with me, go to my website. That's a great place to contact me. It's very easy. There's a little chat button down at the bottom of the page on my website, brianzach.com, and you can write in that little chat window, and it'll go directly to my phone. Okay, and I'll see it, and we can start a dialogue there, and you know, we can set up a lesson that way, or even just a consultation. I may even give you a free consultation, so we can just talk on the phone, maybe through FaceTime or whatever, and just discuss what your goals are, what you're trying to work on, what, you know, and go from there. Okay, so happy to do that. I'll leave you with a question. Is there anything else? No. The question is, out of all of these things that I just talked about and presented as ideas, is there one that I mentioned that really resonates with you? One that's bothering you in your own playing? Let me know. Let me know in the comments, okay? Let me know if there's something that I forgot that you want me to cover. Maybe there's other things that you're thinking of, or something else that you've experienced while playing or practicing, and something that you want me to talk about, discuss, help you with. Thanks for talking about bass drum pedals. Oh yeah, man. Oh, spring tension. Okay, great. See, there's a great question. Yeah, real quick. I mean, before I get off here, because I do have to get going a little bit here. But spring tension in your bass drum pedal. Now, I'm not like, there's no like scientific method for me, and oftentimes, you know, in the past when I've bought a new pedal, I take it out of the box, I set it up, and I play it, and it feels great. I mean, these are the Tama Speed Cobras. These are my favorite pedals in the whole world. I love the way they feel. I love the sort of longboard style footboards, and they still have a heel plate, so they're a little longer than most average style pedals. But I love that they're sort of smooth, and I can like sort of shift my foot up and down depending on the pattern or the way volume with which I want to play. And I just love the way they feel. You know, they're just really fast and smooth, and they play loud. I love it. And they look pretty cool too, I have to admit. But as far as the spring tension goes, I mean, so let's say I'm going to go to a house kit or something, like a rehearsal room, you know, and there's already a pedal on the drum, and I'll find it, and I'll be like, oh, it's cool, man. Okay, yeah. Just reading your last comment there. Let me address that real quick. But so the spring tension, you know, oftentimes I'll get to a house kit or a rehearsal kit or something, and the spring tension will be so loose, and that drives me crazy. So I do prefer a much more taut spring tension. And often I will make it as tight as it will go. Pretty much, I'll say that as a rule. It's about as tight. The spring tension is about as tight as it will go on all of my pedals because I don't like there to be like this loose, floppy. I can't stand that. Um, there are stories about Larry London and how tight his spring tension was, and how somebody like sat in on his drum kit once, and he warned them ahead of time, but they didn't listen, and they played his pedal, and it actually broke a bone. Like the beater snapped back and broke a bone in their foot. If you can imagine that, it's hard to imagine that happening, but I guess it's really true. It really did happen. I'd love to talk to that person. Um, okay, so cymbals, right? I liked hearing you talk about cymbals in your recent endorsements video, and I've been hoping you do a video on the cymbals you've used over the years and what you've looked for. Okay, more about what brought you to Istanbul and what you look for in the particular cymbals. Okay, cool. Right, I can address that fairly quickly here. I mean, but I'm happy to do another video on it too. I mean, if it warrants that. But you know, so a little over 10 years ago, I found this company, Istanbul Agop, and the way it happened was I was playing with this artist. I was living in Las Vegas, and this artist had like a day job at one of these mega churches that they have out west in Vegas, and this is where we would rehearse. We would rehearse at the church, which had just all this amazing state-of-the-art gear. I mean, this, you know, DW drum set with you know, amazing snare and all these in-ears and all the fancy mics and just all the latest greatest stuff. Well, the kit had cymbals on it, and it had these Istanbul Agop cymbals. There was a ride. I remember it was a 22-inch ride, medium ride. I want to say it was like I think it was like a 9. I can't remember what the crashes were. Maybe like an 18 and a 20. Maybe is my guess. There were medium crashes, 15-inch medium hats, and a 12-inch traditional splash. They were all traditional series, and there was a 12-inch splash as well. And I played the rehearsal on these cymbals just because I was like, oh wow, what are these? And I played a little bit on it, and I was like, oh wow, they sound really good. I wonder what they'll sound like, you know, because this was like a singer-songwriter. We were doing some pretty loud music. It was really rocking with like backing tracks, and the whole thing had sort of like a, I don't know, hard to describe, but like what it was, but just very pop, had a very pop type of sound, but like with a Nashville sense of production to it. And he recorded the album right here in Nashville, and so that was my first experience with Istanbul Agop cymbals and what they sounded like and what the whole experience was. And so I walked out of that rehearsal absolutely convinced that this is what I need in my life, because this is the sound that I've been hearing in my head for so long. Now, you're probably wondering, what is that sound? How do you describe that? Well, you know, it's a very personal thing, and me having such a pretty heavy jazz background in my formative years through high school and college and beyond, my ears were very sort of tuned into darker type sounding cymbals. I started more and more gravitating towards the sound and liking the sound of old K cymbals. Now, I never could afford any old Ks. I don't think the only old K cymbal I've ever owned was a little 14-inch hi-hat cymbal that was so thin that you could literally just bend it like this. It was like almost like a sheet of paper. I sold it a few years back just because I didn't have a need for it. I just my ear just started gravitating towards those darker sounds, the the darker hand hammered Turkish style cymbals, as well as not only just what I'm hearing, but also from an aesthetic point of view. I just like the way they look too. I love the hammered look in the light, the way that the light bounces and reflects off of, like, you can see I don't know from where the camera is. I don't know if you can see this or not, but like I can see these little ridges and little bends and little, like, the little terrain in the cymbal, and I just love that. There's something aesthetically pleasing to me about that, and I know that when I play that cymbal, it just has this, like, sort of complex, rich harmonic, there's overtones that are very, very pleasing to my ear, and they're not harsh, they're not loud, and they're not like it hurts my ears. Like, I hear so many other drummers play their Zildjians and their whatever other brand they're playing, and not all of them. And there's some other good brands out there, don't get me wrong. I mean, Sabian makes some nice stuff, Meinl makes some really nice stuff. There's some really great cymbals out there, and so does, and these days Zildjian makes some nice stuff too. But remember, this is like more than 10 years ago, and at the time, I was playing Zildjians and Sabians with no endorsement, so I was just buying things off the rack at the local guitar center, and just, not only did I not really like what I was hearing or playing, but a lot of times these cymbals I was buying for full price, mind you, would crack like within a year. I mean, I had so many crash cymbals crack on me, around the bell, and, like, just on the edge, and just, I got so sick of replacing these cymbals, at full price, and many of which, oftentimes, I didn't even like what I was hearing anyway. It was just sort of a compromise all the time. It's like, well, this is the best one they have here, and I need something, so I guess I'll buy this one. So that's kind of what I was dealing with. So, as I mentioned in the endorsement video, once I played the Agops at that rehearsal, I walked out of there and told myself, the first chance I get to meet the artist rep, I'm going to talk to him or her, because I didn't know who it was at the time, and introduce myself, and just be bold, and go up and just say, hey, these are the cymbals that I want to play for the rest of my life. Like, I couldn't be more serious about it, and so that's how that deal happened. And if you want to hear more about how that all went down, the details of it, you can go and watch that video. It's one of the latest videos I uploaded. It's called How to Get an Endorsement, or like ways to get an endorsement. I uploaded it, I don't know, a few days ago, like just last week. So, but yeah, as far as what I'm now, I mean, within the context of what I just mentioned, okay, I like dark cymbals, I like the overtones, I like the aestheticness of it. But within that, I do have a sort of concept, a cymbal concept, and I think everyone who plays the drums should sit down and think about their cymbals and develop a concept. Think about how you play, the style of music that you play, and what are you looking for to get out of your cymbals. So for me, I like to have 3 crashes with any sort of contemporary music. My best case scenario is 3 crashes and a ride, and obviously a set of hats. And from there, it can grow to a China cymbal and a splash cymbal, or maybe an X hat, or just depending on the style of music and the gig that I'm playing. But basically, I love having 3 crashes that have different voices, like a low, a medium, and a high. And basically, I have that here, I would say. This would definitely be the low. This is a 20-inch traditional. Now, keep in mind, these are my practice cymbals. This one is cracked. Been cracked for many years, but still sounds freaking awesome. I'll hit it for you. so trashy and thin. Typically using a 20-inch ride. Okay. Yes, so this is a 20-inch ride. This is actually I bought this used. This is actually a crash ride. You can see on the bottom, it's not lathed. So it has this, it's called a Vezir, V-E-Z-I-R. I don't know if you see that. Maybe if I hold it up. Let's see here. Yeah, there you go. And so it's not lathed, which sort of keeps it real dry sounding. So there's not a ton of wash. I like to think of this as my Steve Gadd ride because for me, it sort of reminds me of the cymbal that Steve Gadd used to play in the 80s on through the 90s until he started playing those weird orchestral cymbals now, which he plays now. But which, I mean, he could play, a frying pan and it would sound awesome. But this cymbal sort of reminds me, has that sort of dryness and the right kind of articulation that has that sort of Steve Gaddish kind of vibe. You could play a jazz gig on it, you could play a rock gig, you could crash it. It's got a very great bell, it's very easy to hit that bell. It's very sort of pronounced from the rest of the cymbal if you look at the profile. And it's just the right amount, the right weight. It's 2,200 grams. So yeah, it's got a really nice weight to it. I'm careful with it though, because I don't want to crack it, because it'll only get so loud. It's a crash ride after all, and I don't bring it on too many gigs just because I don't want to crack it. So it's more of a studio cymbal, but I did bring it on a gig over the weekend just because I wanted that sound. But so I got a 20-inch here. That's a 20-inch. Sometimes, honestly though, my favorite ride cymbal size is a 21-inch. And if you look at my rig rundown from the Mannheim Steamroller tour that I just finished at the end of the year, one of the videos I uploaded recently, I do a whole rig rundown of the Mannheim Steamroller kit that I played on tour, and that is a 21-inch ride, and that is my favorite size for a ride cymbal, 21-inch. For some reason, I've never played a 21-inch ride that I didn't like. That is the honest truth, and that goes for all brands of cymbals. These are quick release. Tama Drums makes these little nuts that go on the cymbal stand, and they have these two little buttons on the side, and you just squeeze them, and it goes right on. And these are so so convenient, especially when you're on the road and you're trying to get out of there quickly. Maybe you're an opening band and you have to get your stuff out quickly, and you want to take your cymbals off quick, just boom, and take it off, boom, take it off, and it's or same thing, you're putting your cymbals on, you're in a hurry, okay, put the cymbal on, boom, done, and it's not going anywhere, it's not going to pop off. I love them. So much easier than a wing nut where you're ring, 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 okay, you're twirling the thing, and then the thing falls down under the bass drum, and then 10 minutes later you're still looking for the thing in the dark, and it's gone forever. It's like the the laws of the universe. so much easier. They're a little expensive. If you can find them for cheap, buy them. But usually a pack of 4 of these, I think is $25 at Guitar Center. Maybe it's even more now. They might have even gone up. But if you can find them cheaper than that, yeah, get them. I recommend them. They do fit most brands of stand. Yes. This is a Yamaha stand right here. Totally fits. This is a Pearl stand right here. That's a Yamaha stand. In fact, these are all Yamaha stands except this one, which is a Pearl stand. left over from my childhood. So my studio kit, all the hardware is sort of like just stuff I had left over from all the years of playing and gigging and stuff. And I reserve all the newer, better Gibraltar stuff and Tama and all that stuff for. Although this hi-hat stand is also a Tama. What do they call it? Super Cobra. What do they call it? Not Iron Cobra. Speed Cobra. Sorry, getting all my terms mixed up here. So yeah. Let's see what else. So this is a 17-inch crash. This one is also cracked somewhere. Here it is. It's like it has a little crack, like we're going along the lathe. And it's been cracked for a couple of years now. And there's another crack. Actually, there's 2 cracks. I can see them. But look, you can't tell. The only thing that I hear, and I actually love this about it, because it's cracked, is it attenuates the cymbal. Meaning, you hit it, it crashes, and then it sort of dies out a little quicker than it normally used to. And again, I love that. I love that it dies out quickly. It's a great option to have. And I still use both of these cymbals on sessions all the time, even though they're cracked. Because there's nothing rattling, there's nothing weird about them. They just sound great. And then this is an 18-inch Ion. It's got the holes in it, and that sort of gives it more of a trashy kind of sound. So I would describe it best as between a crash cymbal and a china. It sort of lives in the halfway area there. And, it's real thin and like, it's just so easy. It just opens right up. Wow. I mean, it's just beautiful. Very pretty sound. It is high frequency for sure, but very sort of like this pillowy quality to them. These hats are 15-inch traditional light hi-hats. So these are a little thinner than what I typically would use on a live gig. Originally I bought these when I was touring with Tracy Lawrence, and they were out on the road with me for a number of months. A lot of shows I played on these. But I started to feel like I wanted something a little heavier for the live shows, just a little more chunky, a little more articulate, a little more top end. So I ended up buying a pair of 15-inch mediums, and I relegated these to pretty much staying in the studio pretty much all the time. Yeah, man, no problem. My pleasure to describe all this stuff to you. And actually, just recently, this last week, I started. I was inspired a little bit by something that Steve Gadd talked about with his hi-hats. He talked about inverting the top and bottom cymbals, and he's playing the top cymbal. He's playing the bottom cymbal on the top, and talked about how that was really working for him. So the other day, I got my 14-inch medium hats out, and actually the top cymbal is cracked. Don't ask me how I have no idea how I cracked the top cymbal. 14-inch pair of medium hats, and I cracked it. I've never cracked hi-hats before in my life, but sure enough, there's a crack in it. For all I know, I could have dropped it. It could have happened. But in any case, I flipped them over, just like Steve Gadd does. And so I started playing the bottom cymbal on the top last week. And I really, really liked it. Like I didn't think I'd like it at all. And it so surprised me because I just loved the articulation I got with it. Not only just playing the hats in general, but also, when playing a pattern like on the ride, and like kind of, how like you can play a pattern that's kind of like a that kind of a thing, where you're playing the bell and you're also kind of going back and forth between the snare and the hi-hat, and you're gonna sing like, oh man, the articulation just sounded so good. I'm gonna keep doing that, I think. So I'm happy to have discovered that technique. Ever use smaller hats? What do you like about the 15s? Okay, so yes, I have used smaller hats. I own a pair of 13-inch Sabians, which I that are left over from many years ago. I bought them. It's a Sabian AA Fusion model. They're very heavy and very articulate. I like to think of them as my sort of Stuart Copeland pair of hi-hats. And over the years, I've thought about selling them, but I just haven't, you know. I think I bought them for $50, so I'd be happy to sell them back to somebody for $50. But yeah, they're good for certain things, you know. 13-inch cymbals can be cool. I mean, Neil Peart used 13-inch cymbals most of his career, so can't argue with that. What I like so much about the 15s is that they're a little lower in pitch than the 14-inch, and so that means that they're going to sit in the mix in a different spot. They're not going to fight with the guitars as much. They're going to sit a little bit lower typically than like an acoustic guitar or maybe some electric guitar sounds. I also like that when you open them up, there's just a little bit more mass. There's a little bit more stuff rattling around, so I can it's easier for me to get like a sloshier, sort of like a halfway open kind of sound with the 15s. You know, sometimes with the 14s, I find that I'm hitting them hard enough that I'm actually sort of overplaying them a little. Like I'm trying to coax more out of them than they're capable of. That's really the best way I can put it. Maybe that's how I cracked them. But with the 15s, I'm not fighting them as much. And you know, while we're on the subject, I do own a pair of 16-inch signature Agops too, the ones with the green label. Those are amazing, but they're a special thing. It's an effect, you know. It's like you're not going to use 16-inch cymbals on every gig. I'm not anyway. I mean, they're incredible. They're incredibly fun to play. Sometimes I'll throw on if you guys are familiar with the John Mayer Trio live album, that's like one of my favorite albums from John Mayer. Steve Jordan on drums and Pino Palladino on bass, just the three of them. And for my money, it's like the new Jimi Hendrix experience. Like it's the modern day version of the Jimi Hendrix experiences. He's playing those songs, and and Jordan is just like, you know, he's sloshing away in these big 17-inch hats, and it's just the grooves he's playing are just so hip and so they just lend themselves to those big washy hi-hats, and I just love it. I just do. And so it's fun to just put on that record sometimes. And I've definitely used the 16-inch hats on certain sessions, certain songs that have required just a real low, buttery, like, you know. I'm certain I have some videos here on YouTube of me playing those in a session or two within the past couple of years. I mean, I've only owned them for a few years, so I love the chance to work with those 16-inch cymbals. But yeah, probably gonna call it quits here. Been on for about 98 minutes, as it says. It's cool having some people watching. You know, I guess, you know, if anyone else has any other questions, ask away right now. Otherwise, I might try doing this as sort of a once a week kind of broadcast, a live broadcast here on YouTube. I'm having fun with this. It's fun to share my experience and my knowledge, and I love just giving back and um, you know, talking to you guys here and just sharing whatever I can with you. It's a lot of fun. I could talk about drums all day long. Or music, I mean, we can, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'll talk about snare drums. I have a collection of snare, like about 20 something different snare drums. We could talk about those. We could talk about albums that are influential. We could go in that direction. We could talk more about playing. We could talk about styles. We could talk about jazz. We could talk about soloing. We could talk about playing with a click. We could talk about all sorts of things, independence, exercise, things that I'm working on. Um, so let me know in the comments what you want to talk about, because that's what we'll do. Okay, because I love having you guys here, and this is a new thing for me. I'm approaching this new year here in 2024 with some a new revitalized sort of outlook on things, and I just want to make use of the tools that I have, and like not I'm just done being shy. Like I just don't care, you know. I've been beaten down a few times. Like I've had some people say some pretty nasty things over the years, and sometimes that keeps me, it's held me down a little bit, I gotta say. And so I'm sick of that, and I'm sick of caring what those haters think, because I don't give a crap, really. Um, I came on here and I don't even like, I don't, my hair, I don't even know. I don't care what I look like. I don't care. I just don't care anymore. I think that if I'm, if I'm just me and I'm being real and I'm talking real talk here, and we're getting into the nuts and bolts of music and drumming, I think that's all that matters. And so, yeah, uh, just trying to grab the bull by the horns here this year, and just no more shy, bashful, hiding behind the camera kind of thing anymore. Just laying it all out there, baby. Um, yeah, yeah. Thanks, you guys. Um, so let's look for, I'm not sure exactly what day. I'm going to look at my calendar for next week. Hopefully by then we won't be snowed in still, because it's still like insanely snowy and like 10 degrees outside here in Nashville. But hopefully next year or next week will be better and weather-wise, and I'll see what's going on. But so check back. Don't forget to subscribe, because you're gonna miss the next live video. And I'll post it in advance, and I'll make an announcement on social media. Follow me on Instagram at Brian Zach. Follow me at Facebook at Brian Zach. Very easy to find. And you'll see the next live broadcast, and I'll make sure to put it up ahead of time so you can schedule it if you so choose to. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to enjoy my day now, and maybe do some practicing. I don't know, but like I'm just going to chill with the family a little bit. We're all home. My son's off from school, so we're all just chilling at the house and trying to stay warm. So thank you again. I'm going to go. Love you guys. See you on the next video.